I don't know how old this is, but this is a giant rub, like huge and gouged out, and his tines are hitting all the way up here. We'll have to mark this because this is the way he just ran. Yeah. Oh, I smell him. He definitely went through here. We're just gonna push through this. That might have been what he did, trying to get out quickly. It is June 26th. We're back out here on Big Woods public land, and I'm in hunting pressure today. Now I'm expecting it to be a lot of hunting pressure. I've never been in this area, but where I started today, I hiked up not the easiest way, but the quickest way to get to where I want to get to. But it's a lot of very predictable, steep terrain, and I'm expecting that there's a lot of hunting pressure, especially during rifle. And while there might not be as much pressure during archery, even a little bit of pressure I think is going to push him back in further. And once I get past the predictable hunting that everyone's going to want to do, it is swamps, and probably the thickest swamps I've been in this year. So I'm expecting that once I get off this terrain, there's a lot of very defined knobs, and it is like thick swamps, a mess. So getting to these areas is going to be very specific. And how this is set up, I might actually see a lot of buck rubs today, at least I'm expecting to. And even though the deer might not be in the areas that I'm going to today, they're where I'm expecting the bucks to be later on this year, especially if there is any bit of pressure on this steep terrain. And there's a lot of water back here, a lot of running creeks that are actually pretty strong because we got a lot of rain yesterday. But I'm expecting that once it gets thick off this terrain is where people are going to stop hunting, and it's where the bigger mature bucks are going to be holed up. I think this area is going to be one of those places that the big bucks don't get killed, because you can't just drive this place out and kill them because it's so tight and thick in here. And all they have to do is bail up off the terrain, and then they're in swamps. And we know how people are with swamps. The deer are gonna stay in there and no one's gonna get them. So we're gonna figure out where those places are, and then hopefully find a good archery spot where we can kill a giant. And we're starting to get up closer to the top of this drainage here. And we got a small scratch rub here. The trail's getting a little more defined, and I'm expecting there's gonna be a major crossing point. But it's also where I'm expecting that a hunter will be, because it's very obvious on a map that it'll be a good spot. Those crazy crossing spots is going to be where a buck is going to want to monitor doe sign, and there's bedding close to it. So if we can get to an area where all this ties together, we could probably find out where a big buck is bedding, where you can not only monitor the does but also be safe from the pressure on this very obvious terrain. And we have this little fern clearing here, which would be a good browsing area for the deer. And they're skirting the edge of it on the left here, but they also have a cross trail going up and over, which takes the terrain out to the right. Some other knobs that we're going to check later, but first we're going to follow this down to the top of the drainage where it meets, and then work from there. And there's another trail diving in here that crosses the creek. Oh, look at that too. Almost walked by this, I guess. So we got a nice rub here. It's a little low though. I found probably 4 different crossings down here, and it's towards the top here, and the different levels of elevation coming up, and they all have a crossing trail on every one of them. And these tracks are just small tracks. And I'm hoping that with pressure that it pushes them back up into these knobs I am talking about, because a buck could bed on the edge of these creeks, anywhere along this big terrain where it's advantageous to them with sight and with using the wind. But if there is pressure up here like I'm expecting, because this is an obvious spot that anyone can see on a map with a little bit of map knowledge, and I'm expecting that the people will push them from here to the places that I'm talking about, where it'll be a lot easier to kill them. And it looks like on the other side of the clearing here that it just opens up to other open areas with ferns and browsing areas. So being that it's swampland up here, there's probably a lot more skyline, as you can tell. So there's probably be a lot of these browsing areas. And then once we get closer to those knobs I was talking about, preferred terrain, we should see where all this stuff gets really deep with mud trails. So this is the stuff we're going to be getting into here. And why I said I think a buck is going to survive back here is because these trails, while they're very defined, going back into the cover, are very, very thick. The higher part here doesn't seem like they're traveling as much, so I dropped back down in here where that one trail dropped down here. And we also have that rub's right here, and where that rub came down, it leads into this little open spot here. But then we have one very defined crossing trail right here on the creek, and it's the only place from here to probably 100 yards that they're crossing with a trail. Now they could hop across anywhere, but this is the most defined one, and it leads across. There's 2 knobs over here, and then the other knobs I was talking about is back there. So we're going to work this out to those first 2 knobs and see what's over there, because there is very, very gentle rolling terrain here. Not enough to really see on a map. So even us putting pressure in this area might actually help us, because I don't want them bedding on the obvious terrain and all these little spots. I want them to be tucked back in to these for sure bedding knobs in the thick cover, especially the big bucks. So us coming through here might actually help us in the long run, especially when you come and check the trail camera if it's adjacent to these knobs where we find the best sign. Then if anything, us putting pressure in here will only make it easier for us to figure out where they're actually bedding and get closer to a kill spot. This trail is just beat down. It's starting to open up to more hardwoods up here. Little patches of mountain laurel too. That tree's seen better days. But it's leading right back to that knob I was telling you about. We got what looks like our first scrape here too. And again, this tunnel just keeps heading out to that knob. We're really close to it now. There's a ton of browse in here. And it is just tunnels. So thick in here. The knob is just over here, but I came to a spot here. We have a trail coming down here. We have a trail going that way. Trail going through here the way we came. One through here. One through there. There's an old one here. And we got this dump over right here. It's just crazy in here with all these mazes of trails. This place would be a nightmare in the dark. All these little opening areas is usually places where there's beechnut trees. So again, we're close to the bedding now. So if we came in here closer to season, when we could be able to take binoculars or something and see if trees are producing beechnuts, we can find that one spot in here that's going to be dropping them in season, and it would be the place to hunt. It might have to be the place. This is the first place that I've scouted so far that is just saturated with beechnut trees. Yeah, so I guess that's why there's a knob, because there's a huge rock face here. This is what I'm saying, where it's very hard to notice on a map. These are little knobs and rises, but you can already see there's trails wrapping this. There's one going straight up into it. So these are the little knobs I'm talking about where a big buck might bed if he's pressured. It's a little off the terrain. It's obvious high ground. It's being used. And it would be good bedding because they have just enough of a height advantage that they can use the cover and be able to see pretty far down there too compared to everywhere else. It's humid out today. And there's very defined trails going through this all three ways. Oh, it's really gonna come down to the beechnuts back here. I already can tell. The fact that there is so many. I'm not gonna put a camera here because I don't think they're gonna really be here unless they have to be. We're gonna keep moving on, but we're gonna mark this. So we came off that first knob there, and it looks like it's leading to a clearing over here, and the other knob actually isn't far away. There's no beechnuts in this clearing. Oh, there's some over here, young ones. But they're literally everywhere. This trail is pretty beat down this way. It's going straight to the other knob. It's starting to get a lot different over on this side here. A little bit thicker, a little wetter. And oh, getting rubs already. We're getting close to this knob too. Another low rub though. But I'm pretty sure the knob's just up here. Man, if I didn't have maps, knowing where these knobs were with pins, there's no way to find this without maps. You'd be just wandering aimlessly. And if you followed the specific terrain, you wouldn't find them. It's very wet in here. Left or right? I'm guessing those rubs are over here, so let's stay to the left. And that's what this trail is here. But there's one tunnel going through this thick mess. And you see where everything's broken off. It could be from people though. Wow. this is insanely thick. All right, we got our path there, I think, but it weaves out through there as well. I'm just crawling through this stuff. I can't imagine doing this with a stand on your back. I mean, if it looks like this at this knob and we find big buck sign, we might have to ground hunt this behind a tree or something. Oh, okay, we're getting into the knob now. And it's already turning into little open areas. That makes me feel better about it. I was hoping it wouldn't be that thick up here because they wouldn't be able to see. But this is instantly turning into more of like a bedding area. Got a trail wrapping down and around. Another clearing, which is what they want with these high ferns for bedding. But again, I doubt I'll find any buck sign. I got a trail going through there. We got a crazy trail wrapping it right here and out that way. So again, I don't know if I'll be able to find any concrete proof, but at least you can see what's going on here. We're learning these areas, and we know how to. There's an old rub, very old, gouged out, scraped up. Is that old? Or, let me look at that. It might be moldy even. It is moldy. So that was early season, it looks, maybe. If it is a rub, it could be just decay. But it looked like one of those scratch rubs. If it is, it's moldy, which was done in early season. But that's not necessarily going to help me find out where to kill a deer back here, unless I know where the beech nuts are. Okay, we got rubs here too. Old rubs, very old. I still think they're going to be bedding on these knobs if they're up here. Just the fact of how thick it is on these edges, and it's just, they can't see, there's no place to really sit. It's very wet. We know the area now here for here. We're going to keep going back to those other ones, check them out, just so we know what we're getting into. There's a scrape down here, but the trails are crazy in here. And we're actually getting droppings here, several piles. And that knob is right there, the first one that we went to. So they are using these areas, and it seems like the clearings are where they want to be. So I don't know if I got moisture in the lens or what, but I can't get it to completely focus. But I followed a different trail out here, coming across the creek. And it's not as well used, it more looks like a different crossover, but like I said earlier, there's like 5 different ones in here where they were crossing over. And now cutting across that original clearing, going back. And these are the knobs I was mainly interested in when I looked at the maps, just how they all set up together. But fresh tracks, hardcore trail going through all these clearings. And it's gonna lead back to where the creek splits off. And once we get deeper back in there, I wouldn't be surprised if we find tree stands or trail cameras, because there is a lot of historical sign in this obvious clearing area next to the drainage. But I mean, it's a good sign. We're seeing a little bit bigger rubs now, heading straight back to where we want to go. There's a deer right there. Of course, my camera's not focusing right. I can't tell what it is. So as soon as we get into this more open area here with better browse, there's actually grass, ferns, and there's one knob back here I want to check out. I kind of took a little bit of a turn off this clearings and took the one path based on how I wanted to loop this, because this isn't the knobs I was talking about coming back to this part, but it's coming from the same conjoining area. So we'll go check this one out quick, which there's tons of hot sign on. We just saw a doe, and this just seems better to have a big buck in it early season. These trails are cemented in here. Just weaving. And it's a little bit of a hardwood knob. So this is ideal for a buck. We got some old rubs here. Nothing to write home about. And then you can see where the elevation is starting. It's not a big rise, but it's enough. Looks like we might have a bed there. And that doe we saw was just over there. So let's just get right up into this knob. Oh, there's another bed. These are big beds. Could just be really big does. No way of knowing. This is a little bit of a smaller one. Or it could be a bachelor group of bucks leading down into obvious browse. Let's go up and check this. But it's looking like we might end up just putting that camera in that junction area and roll the dice on whether it gets stolen or not. But we got a huge beech nut tree here that is just dead. Oh, there's stuff on top. That's what I'm saying, I need to bring binoculars in and check these when they're actually showing. Because if this is, obviously there's deer here now, but if this tree is just dumping beech nut from the top up there, then we know this is the spot that they're gonna wanna be. But look at this wall of laurels on this knob. We saw beds down in the ferns. They could be bedding up here as well. That looks like a mess out there. I don't even think they're gonna be wanting to go through that. So let's loop down more on the sight line where they're probably more likely to bed on these little thick areas. We got some more rubs down here as well. A lot of vertical trees that are smaller, providing a lot of cover. You can see a rub there, same as the other one. I'll get closer so you can actually see what it looks like. I wonder if it's the humidity messing with my camera today. It is like 100% humidity out today, but it's very thick in here. And it's all vertical cover, which means that it's easy for a buck to walk through. There's scratching in here all over the place. And that clearing is just out there. If it is as pressured as I'm thinking it is, then those other knobs I'm talking about that are a little bit deeper in are gonna be where these bucks that are here now maybe are gonna push off to. But again, more rubs over here. Just shredding the trees up. Old though. There's just rubs all over in here on this edge. Now the clearing's right there, and all the rubs I'm seeing right now are on the edge of this little cover. So looking at the map, where this all leads out to is the very steep terrain that I think is getting pressured a lot. So if we're hunting this and there's no pressure and we have all this sign here, then the bucks are probably bedding on that primary bedding there based on wind, and then they're probably working their way up through here at night. So based on the camera, we'll be able to tell what's in here, and if we're not getting them close, like if we hunt this one time and they're not coming out and we just see does, then we know we just need to push back in onto that, and then we'll probably catch a buck coming off that very steep terrain. So I came across this clearing here, and it's like a hub here with that knob over there that I was talking about where all those buck rubs we were just at. We went across the creek crossing out those other knobs, and there was deer sign. Now most of the buck sign was over there, and we had some moldy rubs, meaning that they really want to be in this here next to the water. There's a lot of browse, there's beech nuts everywhere. And then the other end here where I'm going still has a trail, and there's a tunnel trail going back here, and it's a little bit further walk, but it leads across another part of the creek system, and there's two very defined knobs back here, and this is where I would expect a big buck to be. And then this clearing up here gets pressured, he's going to want to go back to this area, or even me being in this area hunting him could pressure him back here. And I'm expecting there's going to be good buck sign back here. Now it's probably going to be a lot thicker until we get to the knobs, like across the creek the other way, but we should get into a protected bedding area where it's going to hold a big buck that has survived for many years. But we got one mud trail here that is very well defined in the wet here. That's tucking underneath all this stuff, heading right back to those knobs I'm talking about. And this trail has stayed very consistent through here and is getting very wet really fast. But the deer are using it. And here's where one of those drainages comes down I was telling you about into the main creek here. These flies, I tell you what. But we might get wet. But hopefully these trails don't disappear. But wow, look at these trails going through, and I'm supposed to go through that. And then there's a rub right there. Oh man, and it's so wet. This is gonna be a mess. We gotta at least push through a little bit and see, because it might be just a 20-yard push through and then all of a sudden it's open. And this is why I'm expecting that if there's a big buck hiding, he's gonna be back in something like this, where it's an easy push through. It's really, really thick, but it should come out to some better stuff. Oh. But it looks like they might hop across the drainage then. There's a trail going up that way. But the way I want to go is off the creek. Now there might be trails looping around, but this is a mess. This has been a lot of fun, bending over the whole time, but I'm hoping that these tunnels lead out to more open hardwoods once I get past the water. Because that's where I want to go. But man, this has not been fun at all. It's getting a little better now. This is like bear country back here. But this is leading in the direction I want to go. And for a deer, this isn't bad at all. Looks like I might see a rub up there. There's an old scrape here. In the middle of this jungle. With some young tracks in it. But this is leading out to where I was saying. Just heard a loud thump. Wonder if something took off. It's getting a little better. And this is a spot up here I have marked as a hub between those two knobs. And we're getting a lot of doe sign here. A lot of doe sign here. Like I was saying, all over in here. And we get a little bit of a clearing up here. There's a scrape right here. And there's just trees falling down in here because it's so wet. Really washed out, but it looks like we have some buck crap here. Leading back the way we want to go. More droppings here. And we're getting into some rubs here. I got a moldy rub there. Old rub here. And then another one right here too. And they're all leading on this defined trail back here, heading back to that one knob. And this is behind all that thick stuff we went through. Not seeing a lot of trails going through this part yet. Maybe on the other side of it, but we have a very open area. Which I'm surprised it's not really beat down trails unless they're up on the outer edge up here. Because there was a trail that went in along that and cut across it. So maybe they just don't prefer this one. Well, there is water right there. So maybe this is a little too wet for their liking as far as being in these and hanging out in them. The other one, you saw it looked like they were bedding right in the ferns, just grazing. And it gets really thick over there. So maybe they're just skirting the edge of it up here, working towards that knob. Because it doesn't look like they're coming in here at all. And again, we're at another fern clearing here. And every other fern clearing we've been at where there's a good amount of deer, it's been wide, beat down trails. And back here it's just like nothing. Like it's like a half trail going through here. Whereas the other place we were at, they were just destroying it. So we'll get to this knob here and check it. But right now my gut's telling me there's no reason to be back here. But again, I'm not really seeing a lot that I'm getting interested in. And just as I'm doubting everything, And I was even thinking about not even going to check the other knob. I was on my way out, but I took the left trail that would go up to the other knob where it would cross, and we have buck sign here. And it's not huge, but it's on this little tiny trail going up to that knob. So while I wanted to get out of here, we're gonna go check this knob quick. Hopefully it's not hell, but if there's fresh buck sign leading back to this, then this might be a knob that a buck is bedding on. Another pile of buck droppings on the same trail going through the thick. Now, does he go right or left is my question, because it's got a half trail there and a half trail here. It's gonna be it, because this knob is like, oh, there's more droppings. Whatever this deer is, it's in here a lot. And he's heading up. The fresh sign kept continuing. I'm trying to be quiet because I feel like something's watching me. But it gets so thick up in here that I'm thinking that maybe this buck is up in here because it is so dark and cooler in here with all the canopy cover, that maybe he's in here to stay cool. But I feel like he's close by. I'm just waiting for it to snort at me or jump up. But it is so thick up in here, and I kept finding piles of big droppings coming up in here. Well, I don't know how old this is, but this is a giant rub, like huge and gouged out, and his tines are hitting all the way up here, but it looks like it's trying to even heel over a little bit. And that's right at the belly button. And these tine marks are hitting way up. They're even wrapping around the tree a little bit. But for all I know, this deer is dead from old age. That is an old rub, but it is huge. And it's coming right back from this clearing, and there's a trail coming off. So I don't know what we just walked into, but and there's more. That's completely washed out. But that looks like it was a big pile. And there's more droppings here. They all look like buck droppings. What did I walk into? And I'm coming across the backside now, where there's a little bit more terrain as far as bedding maybe, and we're still finding sign through here. But this area, looking at the map, is very centralized to everywhere, and it's kind of on the other side of all the thick cover. But he can go deeper in from where I am now and wrap around all the thickest stuff where it's a lot easier to travel. We have these little rises back on this side that would be ideal for bedding. So I'm trying to figure out if I hunt this area. That giant rub is right up on this tree up here, and there's a trail that comes down right through here, and this trail here also meets through there, and it's kind of where the underside goes here. There's some doe tracks and stuff wrapping on this. And it looks like this side hill is kind of where they're probably bedding. And that buck sign could very well be ancient and dead, but we do have a lot of fresh buck crap dropping down over here because it's kind of hard to see, but when you walk, oh, right there, you can see the gap there. That's where those ferns are, where nothing's walking through. But there's trails coming out this end going that way. And of course we looked and they're all going out that way as well. So if I had to hunt this, I think I would have to come out to where this all dumps down, where I said I think I feel like something's watching me, which is down towards this side over here. I must have spooked something because I got right down to this intersection here, and I want to get to this one spot here next to the ferns that wraps this dead tree here, because it's the way I came in and it's the only way the trail goes out through the thick stuff. And that's the ferns where I started in and went out, but man, does it reek like one just stomped its way out. Smells strong. And I was just through here and I didn't smell anything. And this is like I just sprayed a bottle of Interdigital right here. Reeks. So we might end up seeing it because it might have went this way back out. Because this is really the only trail in this place. So I'm gonna mark this spot right here because this is a very tight corridor here, that if he was traveling a lot, he might come down through this, because this is the only pinch point in through here that leads through a trail down through the stuff. So I think I might have found a better way out of here. I came through that way before, but we have a very good mud trail coming out through this tunnel here, and hopefully this cuts across earlier than the creek way I went, because this is a hardcore trail, and this would explain why it's easy for them to get across to the other area. At least I'm hoping, because there's fresh tracks in here, something I kicked up, and they're almost 4-finger tracks. It's a big deer. So maybe what I'm smelling is actually a buck, and then I bumped him out because we did have that fresh buck sign there. And we're probably finding the way he ran to. So this is actually probably good learning for us if that's the case. So we're gonna pretend this is the buck. We're gonna follow out the way he just ran to, because I can still smell the deer. Got an old rub here leading out across this. And this is all leading to the same area. It's just whether or not which trail we get stuck on, really. But the way this is going, I think it's going kind of left and around into the backside of that other clearing area that we want to put the camera at. It reeks where this deer went through. He's cutting right down across the thick stuff here on this trail. I'd love to see him on the other side, but it sounds like he's really booking it out across this creek. There's another trail to the left. Hopefully he didn't turn on me. Which I think he, oh no, this looks like a little push through. Yeah, it just looks like as soon as I get through this, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Right there's the creek. So once we get across that, oh, I smell him. He definitely went through here. We're just gonna push through this. That might have been what he did, trying to get out quickly. We're back on this creek already, and we got a creek crossing. So we'll have to mark this, because this is the way he just ran. Yeah, I mean, that's mud, but that's a big track. And he leaped right across this creek. So we'll mark this crossing, because this is the way he wanted to leave to get to the other side, because this very well could be the way he's getting to the other area. Oh man, I just sunk in about a foot. But yeah, we got 2 trails going across here. So this might be the way they prefer to travel. Oh. It's good to know. But again, how thick it is in here. I really don't think these deer are gonna get killed in rifle. Creek's right there, and we have, it's old. That's a big pile of crap. And it's all leading out to the clearings, but in a lot quicker, more straight. Oh, I smell him still. Wow, he stinks. But right here, it's a quick cut across where I went through all this thick creek stuff up and around and weaved in through to get to there. There's this one pass through the mountain laurels here that he used, and it looks like they're running up along this way too. But we should be able to follow this right to the back side of that clearing where we want to put the camera. We'll be able to see what this deer is, because traveling, yeah, look at, you can see where he's sliding out. You can see where his toes split that far to come out here, because he almost fell right here. That is a big buck. And he keeps going. That bird just scared the crap out of me. You can see another track here. So we're literally following him the way he gets to the area we want to put a trail camera. And I can see daylight, and that's probably the start of the clearing. So by this way, it's a lot closer than I thought, and a lot easier. So this buck is very well huntable now all of a sudden, based on actually bumping him out and tracking him the way he would go, and is still going out to the fields. And we can put a trail camera out there and find out what this buck is, because it is definitely a bigger bodied buck, and there's sign back there of historically huge rubs. And like I said though, where I think everyone, if there is hunting pressure, is gonna be here, where we're gonna put the camera. We'll try and make it so it's not seen. I can still smell him. We're right on his tail. But like I said, when pressure picks up, I'd expect him to be back on the more covered knobs, which at first I was second guessing, but we cut that trail and those buck droppings, and now we're actually trailing a buck in summer. So now he was being pressured, but he came out this back corner here, but he could very well slowly come through this corner or work through the thick stuff here out to the main clearing. You can see through these trees barely. That's where all that sign was. The doe was on the back side of that. There's rubs over there. There's the beds over there. But this one buck was bedded up there today on that knob. And then he bailed out this way, the way we wanted to come, and actually showed us the way out. So I'm thinking I'm gonna put the trail camera up here a little bit more on a more, I guess, community area, and keep the camera away from the exit, because I don't want him to expect me to be here, because we'll probably kill him near that crossing if he is coming out that same way. There's rubs all over in this section, so this is where I'm expecting him to come out at night, in this area, almost like a field here. So we have the trail coming out here, all those rubs, and there was actually an old scrape. I made a scrape here, and then the camera's back here covering all the trails coming out this way to the drainage crossing, back up to where that buck was. Back to that trail is where that other knobs were, where we had other buck sign. So this is gonna be a crazy trail camera that we can come check out, and it could be one we could hunt from.